inaccurate so that even a child can understand it.
Right. So actually, you've said that before.
It has to be very simple.
You've said that before, and I mean, I guess my question with that is then, if it's so easy to understand, then why do you need all these Watchtower publications? Why don't you just read the Bible?
Because the Watchtower publications agree with the Bible.
But you don't need them, though. I mean, if the Bible's that easy to understand.
Because when you read the Watchtower, you will notice that the scriptures there are relating to a particular subject. And when you read the Bible, the Bible is a big book, and if the person that would read the Bible the first time, even the second time, even the third time, would not get anything out of it, really.
Why not?
Not a great deal out of it.
But it's the Bible and it's easy to understand.
The information is so dispersed within the Bible. And you'll notice when in the articles by Jehovah's Witnesses that it'll refer to different scriptures in the Bible about one particular subject. And how would you do that if you didn't know the Bible off by heart?
This is a common and very contradictory teaching that the JWs are taught to buy into and to teach others. First, she says that the Bible is so simple that even a child can understand it. But then, when she has to defend using the magazines to understand it, she has to switch to saying that no one can understand it on its own, even if you read it multiple times. Note also how the Watchtower likes to split everything up into topics. It's a very effective way to pull select scriptures out of context to fit them into whatever doctrine they want to promote. As long as the witness believes that's the only way to make sense of the Bible, he or she will not question it or dare to read the Bible on its own straight through. These clear and immediate contradictions are part of the brainwashing that creates cognitive dissonance. It keeps them confused and feeling that they are unable to think for themselves.
Well, do you have to know the Bible off by heart? I mean, you and I don't know the Bible off by heart, but we can go to different scriptures.
But that's why the magazines are good.
So, okay, based on that then, if a person were to just pick up the Bible and start reading through it and read through it for years and years without ever even having heard of the Watchtower or read anything from them, do you think they would come to a belief that is just like yours or just like mine?
As I'm sure you have often noticed, she won't answer the question, but instead deflects to a memorized response, which actually contradicts what even the Watchtower says. In a number of places in their literature, they have stated that if people just read and study the Bible on their own without Watchtower literature, they will revert back to Christendom. Here's one quote. They say that it is sufficient to read the Bible exclusively, either alone or in small groups at home. But strangely, through such Bible reading, they have reverted right back to the apostate doctrines that commentaries by Christendom's clergy were teaching 100 years ago. I very much agree with that particular point, other than their claim that those who continue with the historic orthodox doctrines of the entire history of Christianity are supposedly apostate. By the actual definition of the word, it is those that have left those teachings that are in fact apostate. The Bible is powerful, and if you read it in its own context, you will get a very different understanding than what the Watchtower teaches.
They would have to come to a belief that Jesus and Jehovah are different individuals, that God is there's no end, there's no beginning to him, and Jesus was the firstborn or the first created by God. So he then is in a subjective position, and he is a God that was created by Jehovah.
Even though the Bible doesn't say that.
Yeah, it does at Colossians and at Ephesians.
That Jesus was created.
It speaks of him as the only begotten God.
Well, yeah, and we've been...
What is begotten? It means made.
No, not by Bible translation.
Right.
We've kind of been through this with firstborn as well, and we didn't get very far there, but
But
So do you think?
Not firstborn, begotten.
Yeah, same thing.
Your scripture there in any Bible is referred to as begotten, and begotten is a child, a birth, a new birth.
Okay, but now if we, so even if they got there, do you think that they would then believe everything else the Watchtower teaches?
And when you read the Gospels are just full of Jesus saying that he is inferior to Jehovah. He doesn't know everything that Jehovah does. He is in subjection. He doesn't what he knows. He learned from his father.
So you can probably hear me getting a little frustrated at this point. We've been over these issues multiple times now, but she is still going right back to her training and not at all engaging with anything I've said before. Now, she's making a bunch of generalizations without quoting any specific scriptures. I do think that is on purpose. I've got her in a corner at this point because she said the Bible is easy enough for a child to understand, and then she said that even if a person read it through multiple times, they would not understand it without the Watchtower to explain it. So now she's trying to attack the doctrine of the Trinity. This is a standard practice that they're all trained to do. Either they will bring up the Trinity, hellfire, or war, because each one of those can be its own rabbit trail to get away from the initial question. As Christians, we need to be really careful about how and when we take the bait and address those subjects when they come up. They are important, but there is a right time to address each of them and a right time to stay on topic and let them slide. Now, of course, this part of the discussion did stem directly from my questioning her on what the actual doctrine of the Trinity is. So in this case, she's not diverting completely off topic, but she is bringing up the same tired arguments that I have already refuted in previous conversations.
Okay. So basically, if a person didn't have any other influence by anything else, they would just automatically believe everything the Watchtower is already teaching.
Well, they would have to believe what the Bible says, and that the Bible says that God is superior and Jesus is a son that is in subjection. Just like we understand from an earthly point of view. We understand what a father is, and we understand what a son is. A son is in subjection to his father. It's the same principle.
But he's of the same essence as his father.
Essence? In what? A child will have the essence of his father because he's genetically...
He's of, right.
You can see, a person will say that when you see a child and his father, and a person will say, "Oh, that child is just like his father."
Mm-hmm.
If you look at him, you see his father.
Yeah, he has his father's attributes. He has his father's nature.
And that is understood, isn't it? It's logic, and the Bible has to be logic to be understood and believed.
Okay.
Paul warned his disciples not to be misled by false, irrational teaching. He told them to use their power of reason. He said that to the Romans.
Okay.
And reasoning is we reason on what we see, what we know in everyday life.
She uses this appeal to logic or reason quite a few times in our conversations. That is using what is basically a logical fallacy called begging the question. The unstated assumption here is that only those who are using logic and reason would come to the Watchtower's conclusions, even though no one did prior to the beginning of their religion in the late 1800s. And beyond that, their teachings have changed drastically since the days of Charles Taze Russell, which further casts doubt on what kind of logic they have used, since so many of their teachings have contradicted themselves over the years. Of course, that might have been the best response, but it's coming from hindsight. She's just using the Watchtower's reasoning, even though it so often contradicts itself.
So, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit here, but does your Kingdom Hall have access to old publications, or it's just the website?
People can access anything they want to. We don't go to the Kingdom Hall to access
No.
things.
I know, but I was just wondering if that is an option. Like, do you have like an archive library?
We don't have that. We have a small library and we're really downsizing that because, of course, now you can get anything on the website.
Okay.
So we're taking up space that we don't need to.
Okay.
She might actually believe that. Maybe. But the reality is that there are a number of reasons that Kingdom Halls are getting rid of their older literature. One is that they don't want their members to ever be tempted to read the older materials. That would be shocking enough to help them start waking up, and they definitely don't want that. It's part of the I in the BITE model, which stands for information control. Another reason is that they have been getting witnesses to put in their free time and resources to build and renovate many Kingdom Hall buildings so that they can be sold at a profit for the society. So they just don't have room for things like a library anymore.
I was just wondering about that.
But we don't have archives that says these are the only ones you can look at. You can't look at anything else.
Right. Okay. Is there like a printed archive anywhere?
Pardon me?
Is there like an archive anywhere that, like a printed one that people could go to? Like, obviously not in town here, but like in New York or somewhere where they do keep kind of like the master copies and still have all the old publications?
What's available for the governing body in New York is available for us on the website.
Okay, so it's just the website then.
On websites.
Okay. Okay.
The New York has a display of ancient Bibles and of different works. They've got like Tyndale's Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They've got pieces of ancient manuscripts, but and they're just there for display,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to know the basic history of things, but
right.
They're not there to glean information from or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So now she has changed the topic slightly to a few older pre-Watchtower artifacts that are on display. But that's not what I was asking about, and I think she knew that.
Because, of course, they're all under glass.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, it's something like the Tyndale Bible. You don't want people handling that. It will fall apart.
Those are available. Those are open for the general public,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there's lots more I would like to get into, but I think maybe we should maybe take a break and go for lunch. But thank you for answering so many questions. I appreciate that.
No, I agree with you that I think it's very important, and I think you see it too, being a spiritual person, that it's critical to we identify faith with who God is.
I'm not sure if I fully recognized this at the time, but her argument here stems from the Watchtower's constant mention of the name Jehovah and how supposedly they are the only ones who know it. She didn't come outright and say it, but it's what she was trying to get at. It doesn't matter how Christians and even other religions use the name Jehovah or Yahweh. Even when they hear it from others, they still accept what the Watchtower says, even though it clearly isn't true. Additionally, knowing God's name is about knowing who He is, what His character is, and what He has done. That's more of what I'm trying to get at in this part of the discussion.